ਉਹ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਚਿਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਹੱਥੋਂ ਹੱਥ ਕੜੀਆਂ ਲਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਚਿਰ ਪਾਣੀ ਛੱਡੋ ਤੁਪਕਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੰਦੇ
So back home in India, because it is a dirty politics and overpopulated country, people don't have their rights. So we want a separate state sovereignty as a Punjab.
We are a separate nation. We need a country. We have no country. I have heard there's about 230 countries, and we are world 5th largest, and we have no country.
India is treating us as a second-class citizen. Same year we experienced in past 2 years, like all these unvaccinated people, they're not complying with the system. They are being treated like second-class citizens. And same thing is happening in India with Sikhs for past 70 years. So that's why everybody is here.
You might remember a few months ago, my colleague Lincoln Jay did an interesting story from a very poor part of Toronto called Moss Park, where there's a lot of homeless people and, frankly, drug abuse. And there was this group of young guys, they were Sikhs with their turbans and their kirpans, very proud Sikhs, who were serving free food. That's a Sikh tradition. It's a kind of charity woven right into their faith. And there they were in Moss Park giving food and drinks to anyone. It was like a mobile food kitchen. I was really impressed with these guys. Here's just a little flashback of this group called Sovereign Seva.
Come on, man. Come on. Get in. I have to talk about this.
Do you have hot sauce?
I just gave you some.
No.
I know. Like one sauce or no sauce?
Some
Sauce. Yeah.
So we're here practicing a key tenet of our faith called Seva. Seva is the selfless service to help others, and we're serving langar. The meaning of langar is community kitchen, and the community kitchen's job is to serve meals. And if you go to any of our places of worship, the Gurdwara Sahibs, you'll get a meal 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a safe haven. It's a place for protection, place where you can ask for help, guidance, any sort of advice. But the main tenet here we're practicing is Seva, and doing Seva, this selfless service through langar, sharing of food through the community kitchen. And we're here every Sunday from about noon to about 5 o'clock p.m. at Moss Park.
Sundays they usually all day, like for about 5 hours. They give out samosas, spring rolls, pops, snacks, juice boxes, pops, tons of drinks. They're feeding the whole community here, and anybody who wants to line up. So anybody can come and just walk by, and if you're hungry, anybody, it's open to anyone.
Well, I was impressed with those guys, but I didn't know a lot about what does Sikh sovereignty mean. I've always been interested in Sikhs. I know that they were, for example, Queen Victoria had one of her most personal bodyguards was Sikhs. Sikhs proudly fought in the British Empire for centuries. And in Canada, there's a lot of Sikh Canadians who have come over in the last few decades. You would think that the prevalence of Sikhs in Canada, it's an enormous ethnic group in India, but it's actually only about 1 or 2% of the population over there, many of them in the area called the Punjab. And some Sikhs want to have an independent country there, and I can understand that. I'm a Jew, and Jews have their national homeland, Israel. Even in our own country, Quebec has twice had a referendum seeking their national homeland. They want their own country. I understand the instinct of people to want their own place. The question is, how do they go about it? And of course, being Canadians, we believe in peaceful negotiations. And in Quebec, we actually have the Clarity Act and referendums. How would they go about doing it in India, where the government does not want an independent Punjab? And perhaps other rivals like Pakistan would like that because it would break the territorial integrity of India. How is that happening? Well, I was invited by those same guys at the Sovereign Seva soup kitchen to go to a plebiscite, a non-binding referendum for Sikhs around the world as to the question of Sikh separation, Sikh nationalism for a homeland they would call Khalistan. And in Brampton, Ontario, not far from Toronto, thousands of Sikh Canadians gathered for this vote. And I went there with my friend Lincoln Jay, and I want to show you a little bit of what I saw and heard. Here, take a look.
I'm one of the volunteers, and we were blessed with the opportunity to work alongside the United Nations volunteers who are registering voters, and we're helping them complete their ballots. So we do the registration portion, they vote, they go take the ballot, and they go proceed to the booths, and they basically vote behind the booths and put their ballot in the box.
Well, it's a non-binding referendum, so the results of it will not be bound upon India. The people who are counting it, we have an international commission of lawyers from Europe, from Canada, from the United States, who have done various other international referendums that were binding, who are actually organizing and assisting with the counting and ensuring that all norms are followed when the voting and voter registration happens.
So back home in India, because it is a dirty politics and overpopulated country, people don't have their rights. So we want a separate state sovereignty as a Punjab, so that we can fund, because most of us are out now. So we can fund and we can make the people on the humanitarian grounds, their living conditions better.
My name is Gurshadek Bajwa.
And why are you here?
I'm here to vote for Khalistan.
Why are there so many people from the community here today?
Everyone supports Khalistan, you know, everyone wants it to be created again. We want our independence. So I'm glad the whole community is out here to vote.
We are fed up with the Indian government. That's why we are voting give our Punjab to freedom and make the Khalistan.
We are here just for our place where we can say we are Sikh. We can proudly say we are Sikh.
I think a lot of people here just believe in common human rights that sometimes for minorities in India they're just not honored. So people are here to support the referendum so they can get the rights that every human deserves.
We need to want to off the grip of RSS of Modi, and we want to know, because I have a own country, they are in their grip. So the people came out to get freedom. It's our right, so people vote. Sometimes people say nobody like Khalistan. Now it's a clear-cut message. Khalistan is our heart, and we never forget. And the people strongly vote today.
We are a separate nation. We need a country. We have no country. I have heard there's about 230 countries, and we are world's 5th largest, and we have no country.
Anyone who's a member of the Sikh faith can vote, and then the voting will take place in Punjab, India as well, January 26th, 2023. And in Punjab, anyone who's an indigenous habitant of that region, doesn't matter what faith you are, Sikh, Muslim, Christian, Hindu, if you call Punjab home, then when they take the voting process to India, anybody of any faith who lives in Punjab can vote.
You mentioned that this referendum is being called a terrorist act by the Indian government. There has been in the past, as there has been with other national sovereignty movements, there has been violence. What would you say to Canadians who want to support you but who want to draw a very bright line between a democratic referendum and violence? What assurances could you give them that this is in keeping with peaceful values?
Well, Sikhs for Justice has been an organization that's been registered in Canada since 2010. I mean, we work within the law. I am a licensed attorney in Ontario and in the state of New York. All our acts are public. We film them. You're invited here. Other media personalities are here. There's never been a time where we have been charged for an act of violence.
I wasn't implying that.
Yes, but I'm just saying, I mean, to recognize the fact that, Sikhs for Justice and the acts of referendum is not terrorism. Now, if we extend the idea and say, look, there's been acts of violence associated with Khalistan in the past, and can you guarantee there isn't going to be an act of violence in the future? I can guarantee you that nobody wants violence. That's supporting Khalistan. Just like there have been acts of violence with the Quebec separatist movement, it doesn't disqualify those who peacefully advocate for Quebec to secede from Canada. And Canada recognizes that. That's why we have elected officials who have the position of a secession for Quebec, but yet are still elected and are recognized as being peaceful. Anybody who promotes violence should be penalized, but those who say we want a peaceful referendum way to resolve this matter should not be, painted with a broad brush by saying, hey, they're terrorists as well.
Do you think that this vote, which is non-binding, will have any effect?
Yes, it will. It is a moral sport, and especially you're talking of the country where majority of the population didn't even go to school. They don't even know what the schools are. So if you're talking about UP or Madhya Pradesh, those states, they have no education. They just think Hindus are the supremes. They make them orthodox, and obviously fanaticism is a disease. This thing will give a new life to those people.
Everyone's here to stand together for what we believe in, and if that's coming out, even for a non-binding referendum, then so be it.
Yeah, because the Indian government is not supporting to us, and so here we are to vote, and we just want to know to all world, we are Sikh, and we have our own, we can say that we have our own identity.
If there was one thing that you would like to tell non-Sikh Canadians about the idea of an independent Sikh homeland, what would you say to them to convince them to support it?
I think it's more for us, it's an emotional and religious thing. We don't think we should be trying to convince anybody now.
So it's more an internal matter?
Yes, because it can't be said in a couple of words. It's a long history.
But to have a new country being born probably needs a lot of international support, right?
Yes, that's true. We're still working on it, and we don't think so this is just kind of be so easy, but some things has to be start to get somewhere, right?
I think it's something that everybody should educate themselves on. If you don't know a lot about it, there's so much information about it out there. I would say that, it's good to become aware of different types of communities and their struggles. We're from Canada, we're a multicultural society. Every culture has their struggles, their issues, and I think it's overall a wonderful thing to be attentive to these types of issues.
I'm still a real beginner at this. I mean, I've always been sympathetic to India for a number of reasons. It's a fellow Commonwealth country. It's the world's largest democracy. I see it in terms of geopolitics as a counterweight to Pakistan, which is a radical nuclear power, a counterweight to China, which is a real strategic rival to us. So I've always been very sympathetic to India, but now I understand, of course, there's different wings and factions and ideas in India that maybe I wasn't alive to. I'm going to keep an eye on this Khalistan movement. I myself deeply believe in a free and democratic process, a peaceful process, and that was important to me. I asked a question about that. But I really enjoyed going out there and seeing this democracy in action. And of course, we even met some old friends. Remember Palminder Singh, who was so active in the trucker convoy? Well, he was there too. Here's my quick conversation with him. Palminder, you are well known to Canadians who were following the trucker convoy. You're here at the Khalistan referendum. Tell us why.
So India and Sikhs, they demand their own separate sovereign state, and almost 150 years ago, we used to have our own kingdom, from 1800 to 1850, and we helped India to get their independence, 1947, and after that, we didn't get our promised right from Indian leaders, all Nehru and everybody during that time, and since 1947, Sikhs are struggling in India to have their own basic human rights, and it's a long story, and this is all these people are here to vote that we need our separate sovereign state within India right now, because we are not being equally treated as a first-class citizen in India. India is treating us as a second-class citizen. same here we experienced in past 2 years, like all these unvaccinated people, they're not complying with the system. They're being treated like second-class citizens. And same thing is happening in India with Sikhs for past 70 years. So that's why everybody's here. I'm here, and you interview my friends, and we are here to support our sovereign state, Khalistan. So we are voting for Khalistan right here in Gore Meadow Community Center in Brampton.
Well, there you have it. My day at the Canadian voting location for the Khalistan referendum or plebiscite. What do you think? Am I off base here? Am I missing a side of the story? Or am I telling you the other side of the story? A story that most of us perhaps have not heard before. I certainly found it interesting, and I like the guys I hung out with. You tell me. Send me an email to Ezra@rebelnews.com. I'm going to keep an eye on this story. I think these young men are doing charity work throughout Toronto. I love their belief in freedom. I was impressed with their activism, and hopefully the right side will prevail. For Rebel News, I'm Ezra Levant.